Welcome to today's conversation. These conversations started over dinners where I get to introduce everyone at the table in a way that interests me. Dinners are always fun, sometimes useful, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's fun or if it's useful. It's just the fact that we're all there connecting and making sure that we can all see what's coming around the corner. And the next thing that we've got to do is to stay in touch with each other. Yes, having ended up at dinner parties where people have made new jobs and got new contacts for work, I realized for me it's just been a way over the last 17 years to get to know some fabulous people who are always a little bit senior, a little bit fun, and a little bit smarter, brighter, shinier than most. Today, we're meeting Austin Scott. She's the Chief Commercial Officer at Bedrock Platform, and I met her after she shone on the stage at the First Party Capital Breakfast stage show. Self-proclaimed foodie, when talking about the rise of adtech, Austin Scott has been known to reference the Batman villain Two-Face, saying, "Let's not die a hero or long live enough to become the villain." And let's see if you agree she lives up to this after you listen to this interview.
This episode is brought to you by jobsandadtech.com, the only jobs board dedicated to digital media and the adtech industry. If you're hiring now, use promo code JWPOD, JWPOD, for a 10% discount on any package. Jobsandadtech.com, it's where adtechers go to find their next role.
All right.
Austin, hello. Thank you for joining us today. Now, I would love to launch straight in and ask you what's caught your eye in the news this week.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me on this. I would say, since this is kind of a food-themed conversation, the cookie deprecation, will they, won't they, that finally got to, I guess, a finale. And the thing that's been talked about a lot with our teams is sort of, this really wasn't new, right? Like the Safari or Mozilla, that's kind of like the lost, users of the web. And there are a lot of really exciting and innovative partners that have come up to sort of fill that gap. So, it's a good and a bad thing that it's been such a distraction for the last 5+ years. But I joked that it's like, I got really into watching The Walking Dead. Have you ever seen that show?
I didn't watch it. I didn't get into that one.
Yeah. So it's like the zombies are just all of the internet browsers that have been unaccounted for or not even probably invested in properly by all of the brands and marketers, because there isn't an easy button on, the monopolies for that one.
The monopolies. It is the big players and everybody else at the moment still. The market.
Tale as old as time.
Say again?
Tale as old as time.
We're going to see change, though. There are a lot of other players coming in thanks to cookie deprecation. Lots of new players with new tech. I'd love to talk to you about that, actually, if I may. Sort of going into the second part. Where does your business fit into this ecosystem, and how are you helping people get ripped off less?
Our entire kind of foundation is around being able to offer an independent solution, be able to unbundle and, bring light into the algorithm or the decision logic, and allow the people involved in the transaction to decide how it should get done. So if sell-side decisioning has the best information and the best method of impact for the audience and the user experience, they'll be able to take that and run with it. If you have buyers that have first-party data or special kind of custom solutions that they have made, they'll be able to combine that with everything that they or their partners have done in sell-side curation. And we just enable a easier, lighter, and flexible modular system as infrastructure to allow all of that to be executed with transparent pricing, with the ability to kind of, follow the value chain and not just the idea of a supply chain.
But don't all the big players say they do that already?
I think that you can say a lot of things, or you can say what you want, but there have been many instances, nothing gets by a publisher, right? Like a publisher will then track the revenue and see exactly how much is taken out in between them and in a brand or a buyer that they know. And so some are seeing up to 60% loss. So for us, if we allow buyers to have the direct path, have the ability to bring in their custom solutions and, bring the algorithm that makes sense for their campaign, then they're able to work with the publisher and get a more, the value and the outcome and give them the price that is merited by that. So not so much get in between it.
So Bedrock Platform is providing a solution to the market that isn't seen elsewhere, you're telling me, which is clearly the reason. Which is clearly the reason for the business going into, coming to fruition, and you're getting good traction and investment from some significant players across the market. Do you see growth globally, or are you just focusing on the big markets?
So we are, I'm American, but we are definitely headquartered in London. We're starting in the EU. We definitely see the value of the local knowledge and wins. And publishers are very much kind of rooted in their local environments. Usually, big global brands can seem to be, aggregated buyers globally, but there's still a lot to be done at a local effort and to make sure that the wins are there. So for us, I would say we are, a global business because of our infrastructure. But right now, all of our proof points and our kind of early adopters are based in the EU.
So the inventory that you're and the audiences that you're supplying are all based in key European markets. Does that mean that you've got sales teams in each of the markets, or does that mean you're just looking to have it centralized?
Right now, I think we have seen a lot of traction with our curation module. So it's the ability for data services, algo services, and anybody that's kind of got first-party data they don't maybe want to put in another system to have a lean, light activation layer on top of that into the 90 plus SSPs that we're integrated in with, that they may or may not have curated on already. So for us, it's kind of enabling the people that have been able to be a part of the, transactions in maybe other systems, but not have a lot of control. Maybe they don't see a lot of bid density. Maybe they don't get a lot of delivery, but with us, they're able to kind of capture that and get more control back. So the sales team, we're kind of a platform for platforms, right? Like we're powering other people to run their successful businesses, and whether it's an IO business or kind of a platformed licensing business they have. So we're a very lean team. We're 4 founders and about 13 engineers across the globe.
And of course, you've got Ryan on board as well. So Ryan Pestano, who
Ryan very well.
Overlapped within 24/7 Media Singapore.
He moved to Barcelona, though.
Say again?
He's in Barcelona now. He just had the blackout.
Living the life, except, did he create the blackout? Yeah, it was your platform's using too much electricity.
I think the 15 gigawatts gone for 5 seconds was clearly Bedrock. Hit a button.
Are you working with which agency groups are you working with at the moment?
Right now, we're going for more the independents. So, the holdco conversations are great, and there'll be a time and a place for it. But I think when you look at starting small and kind of trying to be built for, bootstrapping and scaling at your own pace, the holdcos are definitely very focused on AI, and that's great. You can bring your AI and agentic layers and hook them in and lay them on top. We're just really focused on being able to be the composable infrastructure for the media trading. So I think they've all experimented with different probably iterations of it in the past. And a lot of what we heard was that, sure, you can design all this stuff at the top line, get the chief investment officer to make it all up, but then getting it down to the individual agencies or the individual planning and trading and investment teams, then the whole idea of kind of the investment to planning workflow to actually activating, that seems a little bit more tricky. So it's basically, if it's a business problem, tech won't solve a business problem, is one thing I feel everybody's learned in the space. So
what's your key goal for Cannes this year?
I would say to get to see some really good friends and familiar faces and get to run around on the Crusade. And I think honestly, it's just a great opportunity to feel like, you know, the industry's back and kind of riding that wave of innovation in, you know, the glamour and sunshine of the Crusade.
Fantastic.
Will you be down there?
I personally won't be. No, I won't be. Not this year. So High Five is the next segment I want to bring to life. So I'm going to throw at you quick fire 5 questions, and you can tell me your answers and why. So the first one, your hero.
You know, I would say that my hero is probably just like a teacher, right? Like somebody that is just doing good work and making sure, you know, at a very local level, change is made and impacted. Because I guess I've thought a lot lately about what really changes systems that don't seem to be equitable. And I think that to some degree, and this is probably unpopular, right? Like idolizing one, you know, this is what'll fix it. This hero fixed everything. The collective action idea has been a lot more on my mind, and a little bit also in terms of the idea that the legislation and some of the changes you've seen across the industry or around privacy and all. So yeah, I'm sure there are heroes, but I would say for me right now, the hero is really going to be in collective action and uniting around like a true common goal. So
It's interesting you say that, because I think teaching people about what is and what isn't possible within the ad tech landscape is a really important thing, and being a trailblazer to go forwards and say, hey, things can be done better, which is why I'm a fan of what your business and other businesses in the sector are doing, saying things can be done better. We might be small, but we are going deliberately in this direction rather than just doing what everybody else is doing because that's where we're at the moment. Your best decision. Point 2. What is your best decision?
The best decision is taking a risk, right? Doing a startup that's super invigorating. I love building something. So, you know, doing this opportunity has been the best decision lately. I've had a lot of good decisions, I guess. I've been very lucky and, you know, had to, 2 great kids and wonderful husbands. So a lot of things that in terms of like are personally of value. One of my other best decisions was running off to Paris for love, right? Like that was a great one. Man, it's given me sort of such a wonderful foothold in understanding European ad tech and all that stuff. So I'm all right. I'm making some good decisions.
Fabulous. Your worst decision, though. What is your worst?
So I would say over time, I would say my worst decision is more this idea that like misjudging how much other people might want change and or their appetite for change, and having to become more compassionate for that. Because for me, it's like, okay, so this isn't the right way to do things, or this is broken, or this is inefficient. So change it, do something different. And realizing how hard it is overall to get that kind of change done. I talked a lot so the early days of programmatic, right? Just got out of college, running around all of the big names, right? And the feedback, I went back on my founder journey recently and I interviewed a bunch of them and I said, hey, like, what would you do different? What did you learn? And one of them was like, don't get diluted, don't hire too much, and don't piss off agencies. And the idea, though, this goes back to quite a few of the wonderful, like leading companies in early programmatic. They noticed that the system was wrong, sort of, but they didn't realize that, you know, bringing change was going to get them more alienated. So going direct to brands without giving sort of justification or partnership with agencies seemed to keep some great startups from scaling or having a hard time really finding their long-term market fit. So I do think that that sense of is now the time for change. So I think in some ways my best decision could also end up being some of the worst decision, in my own acknowledgement that people maybe don't want change, or they want it to be packaged in a way that they're comfortable with. That's, I guess, what I've come to now.
Well, they say change is the only constant, but change is the scariest thing ever. So yeah, I like that. The final one is, oh no, it's not the final one. I've got one more. The funniest moment. What is the funniest moment that you can bring to life for us today?
One of, I guess, a funny moment I would say for just ad tech. One company, one of their investors was actually MC Hammer. And as a young kid growing up, I absolutely loved MC Hammer. And I would like do the crab dance, you know, the thing where he could. So lo and behold, Lower East Side at a party for that startup, and MC Hammer comes in. Well, I've had plenty of tequila at that point. I do the crab dance for Mr. MC Hammer. So yeah, I just think there's things like that. Those moments where kind of like.
Did he join in?
No, but he was very polite about, you know, my rendition.
Wonderful. And finally, one more person. I'm going to ask you to recommend one more person for me to speak to on the podcast. But of course, to speak on the podcast, they have to come for a dinner first. So do you think you'd be willing to introduce me to someone that might be interested in joining?
Absolutely. I think Anne from Scope 3, one of the co-founders, she would love. They have to be London based, right?
Well, they have to come to London at some stage, or I have to be in New York, but I have no business travel scheduled, so that won't be happening soon.
Yeah, no, there's a long list. Is there anybody you've been looking to get?
There are plenty of people that I would love to have on it, but right now I'm just enjoying catching up with people that have been on dinners over the last few years, and it's a great excuse to catch up with them again and have a quick chat, and then a quick 15-minute chat, recorded chat as well. Austin, thank you so much.
I also have another one for you. Michelle Lira, she's over at Denso, and she's one of the best foodie queens I know. She knows a lot around the Filipino food scene here, so I've gotten a lot of good tips from her.
Awesome. I look forward to the intro. Thanks so much, Austin. Really appreciate you joining today.
Absolutely. Thanks, James.